What's up, guys? Rick here with your preview for the Masters. Oh, I love being able to say that this is a massive week, a busy week. I'm going to cover in this video a data-driven approach to the golf course, the field, and anything else that I can think about. But I cannot stress to you how excited I am. I will be at Augusta National as early as possible on Monday. I get into town Monday morning. So get there Monday, boots on the ground Tuesday and Wednesday. I'll be there all week. If you're out there, say hello. We're going to start our live coverage for CBS Sports Wednesday. That'll run obviously through Sunday. I've already gotten emails from some of you that are going to be out there on practice days. It's going to be absolutely awesome. It's going to be busy, and I have a lot of really cool, fun things to talk about. First and foremost, this is as crazy to you as it is to me, but you can win a round of golf with John Daly and I? What? Yeah, that's true. So I'll actually be with JD at Hooters on Tuesday doing some promotional stuff here, but our contest, our listener league for this week on Splash Sports is this contest, a $350,000 guaranteed purse where even if you finish dead last, if you enter, you are entered into a draw to win a round of golf, all expenses paid with JD and I. I don't know where it's going to be yet. Probably somewhere pretty cool, but any entry is an entry into that draw. So you don't have to like win the contest to win the round of golf. If you do win the contest though, it's $100,000. If you finish second, it's 20 grand. So very top heavy, but it's $100. I know a lot of you are doing Masters contests anyway. This is our listener league for the week. It is 8 tiers. You pick one golfer from each of 8 tiers. Your best 7 scores count. So it is basically what we do every week on Splash Sports. And now with the added benefit of you could literally get flown somewhere to play a round of golf with John Daly and I, which is just absolutely nuts. I can't believe this graphic exists if you're watching on YouTube. So very, very exciting stuff there. In terms of other exciting stuff, we have indeed launched the Second Cut podcast, which will be Mark Immelman and Greg Ducharme, familiar voices to talk about golf 3 times a week. The Masters, our schedules are all over the place because we've got other responsibilities. So we're going to start that 3 times a week cadence on Heritage Week. So next week, but we did already do a mega preview show. It is on YouTube right now. I will link the Second Cut in the description. Please go over there and subscribe. This is an independent project that honestly we started because of the feedback that we've received from you guys and nothing but a relentless amount of positive comments over the course of the last 6 years that this has now come to fruition. So really, really excited about it. It's ours. That includes you. Any support that you can provide would be fantastic. Let's talk about the golf course. The incomparable Augusta National. It is splendid in every way. I'm so incredibly fortunate to be going there again. It's fascinating stuff. But let's look at this from a data perspective. This is a golf course that has very little second cut, right? In some places you see it here on number 1 on the right side. It's like a yard. Okay, so you are either in the fairway, you are in 1 yard of second cut, or you are in pine straw with trees, or you are in water, right? Like that's the penalty. The other defense around this golf course is severe undulation. It is also just an unbelievably well designed golf course that allows you to play it in a lot of different ways, but never feel comfortable. This is a golf course that very few lies are ever going to be flat. The pin locations are idyllic. I mean, they're unbelievably great. They are large undulations in these putting surfaces, but also subtleties that you can only learn through experience. The third hole, everybody kind of wants to drive it down into this front left portion over here, and it's a very difficult uphill pitch to usually a very difficult pit. You cannot take a second off. You have to be completely engaged on every single shot, and if you're not, things start to go sideways very, very quickly. So just an unbelievable level of engagement required around this golf course. Doesn't even take into account the fact that, there's a major championship on the line. Here's 15 and 16 coming over here. Just It's awesome. When you look at this from a statistical standpoint, so this is the regression model that I run every single week for every single golf course. And there are a few things that stand out in terms of Augusta National compared to stats for success. So this is not my opinion. This is strictly a math problem. The number one stat for this week is tee to green play. That is always very, very high, obviously, because it's 3/4 of the game. But there are only two other courses on the schedule where strokes gained tee to green is more correlated to success than here at Augusta National. Okay. And it makes sense. I mean, this is, the phrase, it's a complete examination, could not be more true anywhere but here. Like, it's just, it is. It's just everything, the way they cut the fairways into you. So everything is like into the grain, the uneven lies, the tricky short game shots, because everything is a tight lie. It's just everything. You cannot fake it around here. And that's why tee to green play is so critical. Now, if you look at some of the secondary stats here, you'll notice that there are also a couple of scoring stats. We don't always see that. Bounce back is the second highest ranked stat, which means there's only three other courses, because bounce back ranks fourth, that it is there are only three other courses where bounce back ability is more correlated to success. Eagles is actually third. Now, Eagles is that's a very difficult one to project or predict, but the fact that's a scoring stat, right? Birdie or better conversion percentage. Again, a scoring stat. You also see things like long approach shots, going for the green, par 5 scoring, right? So we're starting to build the type of golfer who is going to have success around here. It is one who can be very stout from tee to green. It is one who is these guys are going to make bogeys this week. It is going to happen. They're probably going to make doubles. The ability to bounce back, the ability to limit the damage, the ability to then go and take advantage of the par 5s. I built some graphics for this week. I don't know if I have this one handy here, but I literally went through the average hole score in the entire history of the Masters, 1934 on. This is the 89th edition. The only holes that have played under par in this course's history are the par 5s. Everything else is over par. Probably not a surprise, but that is really where you do have to make some of your hay. So we've got tee to green play, bounce back ability, scoring, par 5 scoring. These are all things that we are going to consider. And then the magic and sometimes unquantifiable experience factor, right? You're going to hear that a lot. You're going to hear, nobody has won as a debutante since Fuzzy Zeller in 1979. You're going to hear a lot of that. What I think about when I think of experience are the putting surfaces. And I think I have found a decent way to quantify this. So here is the graphic that I put together. And there are flaws with this, but I want to lay this out for you here. So what I did, so let me back up. Shot by shot data has been available since 2019. So we have 6 years of of strokes gained data. So I can actually, and I'm sure we'll see it throughout this show, you'll see the best approach players. You'll see the best putters, all that stuff, but it's only going to be the last 6 years. 6 years is a lot, but it's not the full history for a lot of these golfers. So what I did is I took the strokes gained putting numbers and I averaged them out by what year of experience the golfer was in. So what you're looking at on the screen if you're watching on YouTube is that first timers, debut golfers are actually losing 1/10 of a stroke putting in their first time around the Masters. Then you start to see this kind of a steady climb from years 2 to 3, 4 and 5, kind of in, both positive as well. And then you get into this sweet spot. Years 6 through 10 are the best putting years in terms of experience that I could find. And the fact that they're kind of all in a row, the fact that it would make sense that it would basically take you 6 years, 5 or 6 years to start figuring out these greens is not that much of a surprise. And then it drops off after that, 11 through 14 and on. Presumably that data is being downgraded by past champions. The other thing is, I want to address, like, obviously guys that are playing the Masters for the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th time, they are the better golfers, right? That is why they're qualifying every year. It is why you would expect to see better players in those years, but that doesn't necessarily mean better putters. And these are putters at Augusta National, right? These are not putters in general. So I do think that there is enough to say, yeah, years of experience on the putting surfaces is quantifiable. Is it perfect? By no means. Is there a ton of noise? Absolutely. But I think it is worth saying that is a thing. So, great tee to green players, scoring, particularly in par 5, the ability to limit damage, and then being one of those putters who is starting to get the experience. Well, Rick, who are those putters? Who are those guys that are entering years 6 through 10, that sweet spot? I'm happy that you asked. Well, here they are, and let me get myself out of the way here. These are all the golfers in the field, 26 of them, that are entering that sweet spot. I won't read all the names to you, but for example, the guys who are playing their 10th time, Billy Horschel, Brooks Koepka, Shane Lowry, Justin Thomas, guys that are playing their 6th time, Chris Kirk, Sung J M, et cetera, et cetera. There's a bunch of them. So the way that this is ranked is by number of starts and then by strokes gained putting at the Masters when applicable. Because think about it, Cam Smith, he's played here 8 times. There's only been 6 years of strokes gained data. So that means I only have 6 years of putting information on Cam Smith, but you should get a pretty decent idea. It also does mean that these guys who are playing for their 6th time, I have all their putting data for, right, at the Masters. So I think this is worth looking at. The golfers who have putted really well here that continue to be in that sweet spot. Billy Horschel's picking up a third of a stroke per round on the putting surfaces. Cam Smith and Russell Henley over a half a stroke. John Rahm and Keegan Bradley over a third of a stroke. Going down to the 7th year guys, or actually this would be their 8th year. Not a lot of goodness there. Xander Schauffele is just barely a positive putter at Augusta National. Corey Connors and Tony Finau are both losers. Brian Harmon, the only guy entering his 7th year, is picking up nearly 3/4 of a stroke. Same with Chris Kirk, 3/4 of a stroke. And then Sung J M, Harris English, and Colin Morikawa all right around that third of a stroke per round. Joaquin Niemann very close to that as well. So I think that this is a really interesting way to look at this, and something that I might end up doing for different golf courses. But as we know, Augusta National experience, especially on these very interesting, deceptive, subtle greens, I think this is really fun. So I'm pretty happy with this, as you can see by the smile on my face. Okay, let's continue to roll on. Not sure if you guys have seen it yet, but there are not 1, not 2, but 3 different contests on DraftKings with $1 million first prize, which is just crazy. I've teamed up with DraftKings for this week and moving forward, and they are giving all customers a shot to play for free at one of those $1 million top prizes. So very, very simple stuff here. With your next $10 deposit, if you're new, use code RickDFS. If you are an existing customer, go ahead and just click that link. You know where it's at. Deposit $10 and you play for free. That's it. Deposit $10. You play for free in the $10 Masters Millie Maker. Hoping one of us can bring home the $1 million top prize. I'll be in there. Looking forward to seeing you as well. All right, here it is in all its glory. This is the cheat sheet at RickRunGood.com. This is my website, giant database for fantasy golf and golf betting. Most everything you see from this point forward will be from my site. There are 5 golfers over $10,000 on DraftKings, and of course, they are the big boppers here: Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Ludwig Oberg, Colin Morikawa, and John Rahm. Let's start with the 2 at the top. These are the 2 that are going for history. Scotty Scheffler trying to win back-to-back Masters, trying to win the Masters for the 3rd time, 3 out of 4 years, things that have been done by only a handful of golfers ever. It was a little bit of a slow start for Scotty, but he has seemingly shaken off all of that rust. What he has done on his approach play and off the tee in his last 2 weeks is vintage Scotty. Picks up 2 strokes off the tee at the Players, 2 more in Houston, and then picks up 4 strokes on approach. That's a stroke per round. That's an elite level of golf. And oh, by the way, despite the 5 strokes he lost putting at Bay Hill, he has been an absolute maniac in a good way with the flat stick. He picked up 7 strokes putting in Houston, ends up finishing in a tie for second there. I am not exaggerating when I say his first 5 years around Augusta National are some of the best we have ever seen. I put this in my newsletter for this week. In terms of total strokes gained over the first 5 major championships, Scotty Scheffler, I believe, ranks 4th or 5th all time. The only other modern golfers are Jordan Spieth, who has the absolute best strokes gained number over his first 5 trips to Augusta National of anybody who's ever played here. And then you get guys from like 1945, 1955, and then you get to Scotty Scheffler. And Scotty has twice as many green jackets as Jordan Spieth does during that span. No worse than a T19 finish, and that is with him in 2 different occasions losing 4 strokes with the putter. It's crazy. Any way you slice this, the ability to play from tee to green, the ability to putt these surfaces, and what I think is even more critical is the strategy. The way that Scotty Scheffler plays Augusta National is the best we have seen since Tiger Woods, and I'm talking strategically. He and Ted Scott have this thing figured out. Remember, Ted Scott has won the Masters more than Scotty has, right? Because he's done it with Bubba Watson as well. So there is just an unbelievable amount of experience and maturity and patience in this game that allows Scotty to be so good at Augusta National. So needless to say, he is a deserving favorite. I love everything about Scotty, and you're going to see me have as much Scotty as I could conceivably handle. Rory McIlroy, you could say a lot of the same things that I've said about Scotty Scheffler for Rory McIlroy, except there is one caveat here, and that is the fact that we are now in year number 17 for Rory McIlroy at the Masters, an unbelievable amount of history and experience, and it is not always physical for Rory McIlroy. I actually think that he has tried a lot of different things in his career to prepare for the Masters. Most of them have revolved around his schedule. He has tried playing a ton leading into the Masters. He's tried playing very little leading into the Masters. He's tried a combination of everything. What I actually think he's doing different this time around is on the golf course. And you can look at his 2025, and it is objectively the second or third best form that Rory McIlroy has ever been in leading into the Masters from January 1st of that year. 2 wins. I would argue the win at the Players' Championship, he didn't even play particularly well. Was clearly not firing on all cylinders and still won one of the deepest fields in, if not the deepest field in golf. So I think that is a testament to him biting off a little bit of what Scotty does. Scotty really misses in the right spot. He manages the golf course a lot better. We've seen that from Rory in 2025. He has a couple of new shots in the bag. He's got these flighted shots, these 3/4 wedges. He doesn't have to go 110% at every single shot. It's a really fascinating version of Rory. On the golf course, I have no issues with Rory McIlroy. It is just between the ears that I worry about him. The rest of this 10K range. So we've got Colin Morikawa here that I think if you watch this channel a lot, you would know. I've been buying the stock on Colin Morikawa for months. I think that we are... I think I said he'd win a major championship this year. I think when I did my top 50, I probably ranked him like 3rd or 4th for the 2025 campaign. He is back to being an elite second shot player. I do think that I am going to end up being a little bit lower than the industry, and that I'm like an 8 out of 10 on Colin Morikawa. It's a massive number, but it feels like he is just at an absolute frenzy around the industry. 4 straight top 20 finishes, 4 straight trips gaining strokes putting at Augusta National, 3 straight top 10 finishes. I do worry a little bit about 2 things. the putter, it just might be cold, right? Like if Colin gains 2 strokes putting this week, he might win a green jacket. It's very likely, and you can see basically half of his starts, he's going to lose 2 or 3 strokes putting, and he's just not going to win the golf tournament. And I do also still have this weird, like, can Colin close type of conversation? If this is Jon Rahm and Scotty Scheffler and Colin Morikawa on Sunday in the last couple of groups, who do I trust the most? I'm not sure it's Colin, which is maybe unfair. He's twice a major champion. I could argue he did both of those with no fans and an Open Championship with no wind or whatever, right? But I love him. 8.5 out of 10. I love everything about him for 2025, but it just feels like we have gotten a bit frenzied at this point. Ludwig is probably the X factor here. He is coming in at $10,800. He's missed 2 of his 2 straight cuts. He, since the win, he's gone 22nd where he lost strokes on approach at Bay Hill, and then 2 straight missed cuts. He has now lost strokes on approach I'm going to give him a pass for this WD here. He was sick. He was ill. I'm not even going to look at that. He's lost strokes on approach in 2 out of his last 3 starts. He's lost strokes around the green in 3 in a row. What he did last year at Augusta National was splendid, but it was also one of the best putting performances we've ever seen in his young career. In fact, it was the best putting performance by a wide margin, 2 strokes that we've ever seen in his career. So looking at this purely statistically, there is a lot of room for Ludwig to go the wrong way here, to not have a week like he had last week, because he probably doesn't pick up another 7.5 strokes putting. Even if he picks up 4, you might be looking at a T8 finish instead of a T2 finish, something like that. And the fact that he's struggling more on the second shot and he's missed 2 straight cuts. Like, I don't love any of this. All the talent in the world could win this. That's why I consider him the X factor, right? But I think it is going to be a situation barring very, very low ownership where I'll just take a pass on Ludwig Åberg. Jon Rahm. Okay. If you have not been looking at what's going on with Jon Rahm, let me show you. So RickRunGood.com, yes, I have deals with all the major tours. I have data deals with all the major tours. So PGA Tour, I get all the strokes gain data. That includes Korn Ferry Tour, includes Senior Tour. I have a deal with the DP World Tour, so I'm getting all the strokes gain metrics from the DP World Tour. I have a deal with Live Golf, so I'm getting all the strokes gain metrics from Live Golf. So if you are looking somewhere at a place that only has PGA Tour data, the last time you saw Jon Rahm play was last year's Open Championship. Well, he's played a bunch of Live Golf events, 4 DP World Tour events, and the Olympics since then. And what he's done on Live Golf is just basically piling up top 10 finishes. In fact, what he has done statistically on Live Golf is almost identical to what he has done on the PGA Tour. He is one of the best drivers in the world. He has an underrated short game, and the putter is starting to heat up. His 2025 flat stick on Live Golf has been very, very good, picking up 2.5 strokes last week in Miami. That was at Doral. Picked up 2.3 in Singapore the week prior. If you actually go and look at, oh boy, how do I want to do it? Trends tool? Jon Rahm is basically the hottest player in the world. So the way that you look at this is you take each golfer's 100 round baseline, you look at how they're playing right now, and you basically add or subtract, and you get this strokes gain trend number. So Jon Rahm is actually playing nearly a stroke over his baseline in his last 36 rounds. It's an incredible number because he started out with a very good baseline and he adds nearly a stroke per round. Rory McIlroy too. Rory McIlroy is picking up more than a half a stroke to himself in the last 36, already on a very high baseline. So those two lead the way in terms of strokes gain trend. Scotty Scheffler, Tyrrell Hatton are the other two that pick up a strokes gain trend number of at least 2. We'll get to Hatton in just 1 second. And of course, I skipped Bernhard Langer. His number comes from all his Senior Tour stuff, so not necessarily comparing apples to apples there. But the Jon Rahm scenario, obviously this is a good place for him. He won here in 2023. 2024, I was there, was a very bizarre version of Jon Rahm. Frustrated. This was right after he went to Live, right? The first major championship he played after Live. He looked frustrated. He looked kind of sad. Looked kind of out of it. Quite honestly, his major championship season got much better after that. So I'm happy to be in on Jon Rahm here. I can just tell you all the metrics are just as good as he was when he was on the PGA Tour. I don't want to forget that if you are playing in that $350,000 contest on Splash, or quite honestly, any major or masters pool, I want to point out that Pool Genius, who I'm very, very close with those guys. We use their one and done tool. I've collaborated on it. I've consulted on it. They have a majors and masters product as well. So what I like about this is you can put in your own tiers. Now I'm a little bit early here, so I don't have the information yet. I'm recording this early, obviously, on my way to Augusta. But what this will do is you'll put in your own tiers here. So whatever they are, no matter how strange they are, and trust me, I have heard from all of you, there are some bizarre rules out there. So you put all that information in, you put the tiers in, and then you'll be able to see the likelihood of winning for each golfer to win that tier. And then you can start building your entries in that way. And even if you have a tier like this one, tier 5, I just threw everybody else in the field in here. That is available as well, and it updates throughout the week as odds might change. It's got some really good information in terms of past finishes, course history, all that fun stuff. So I love these guys over at Pool Genius. They always hook us up with the best possible discounts, like up to 60% off if you use the link in the description. They're very, very good guys. I wouldn't recommend this if not, but I'll be using this for my entries, and I encourage you to as well. The 9K range. It is somewhat likely the winner comes out of this 9K range here. We'll start with Bryson DeChambeau. He's $9,900. Remember, he made a run at this event last year, T6, by far his best result at Augusta National, and he did it with those 3D printed irons that made all the news for the week. He picked up 7.3 strokes off the tee. He has not been as good this year. Still good enough, right? I mean, he's played 5 events on Live. All of them are inside the top 20. His best finish is a 5th place finish that just came at Doral. And look at what he's doing with the driver. He's picking up at least a stroke per round. So if he does that, he is going to give himself such a high floor. Now, the big problem with Bryson is that he has a tendency of missing left off the tee, which is something that he has kind of corrected recently, but that's the thing that will get him into trouble and has historically gotten him into trouble at Augusta National. The back-to-back miscuts in 2023, 2022, and really no good finish outside of that 2024 where he went deep and was in it late on Sunday. So what we have here is a very high floor with the driver, and then I don't know what's going to happen. Is he going to lose 3 strokes on approach like he did at Live Hong Kong? Is he going to gain 2 strokes with the putter? Is he going to lose 2 strokes with the putter? Is something going to happen to throw a grain of sand in the motherboard and short circuit this guy? I don't know. I tend to think on the positive side of things because he has such a high floor, right? I think that he is very live to be in the mix. I think everything has to go right for him to win this golf tournament, but I think that not a lot has to go right for him to finish inside the top 15. So I think he's got one of the higher floors of this 9K range, which is really, really strange to say, considering that Bryson is historically one of the most volatile golfers around Augusta National. As of right now, like if you made me say who's going to win this golf tournament, I think it's Xander Schauffele. And I think, and I say that from a odds perspective, right? Like who's the best value to win this golf tournament? If you ask me who's going to win this golf tournament, I have to pick one golfer. I'm just going to say Scottie Scheffler. He's got the best odds to do that. He's probably going to win it 20% of the time. Xander Schauffele has had a very, very bizarre 2025. But before we even get into that, his major championship record is unworldly. So he started playing major championships in 2018. The Masters in 2018 was his first major. That's when he became a full-time player, and that's when he started playing these things. He has played 104 major championship rounds. He has gained 2.1 strokes per round during that stretch. The only golfer who has been better than him since Xander made his debut is Scottie Scheffler. And Scottie Scheffler has played 30 less rounds, 32 less rounds at majors. Xander has lost strokes in a major championship twice in his career. One of them was the first time he ever played a major championship. That was in 2018. The second time was in 2022. The 4 major championships that he had last year was one of the greatest major championship seasons in modern history, specifically the Tiger era and on. It was basically the 5th or 6th, I believe, best in terms of strokes gained, something like 50 some odd strokes gained in 4 rounds, 2 wins, an 8th, and a T7. The other thing that I want to point out to you is that yes, he has been knocking off the rust. Oh, first off, he's finished inside the top 10 in over half his major championships. It's insane. The other thing is this number right here, the 11.2 strokes he gained on approach at Valspar the last time that we saw him, is not only the best of his career, it is also the best of any golfer in 2025 on any tour in the world. So, yeah, I think he's knocking off the rust a little bit. We need him to drive it better. We need him to putt it better. Of course. But he has gotten better every start in 2025 after that rib injury. I just see a path for him to be very, very dangerous at this golf tournament. I'll give you three more in this 9K range. Justin Thomas, I probably picked to win this golf tournament. Like if you would have asked me at the end of last year, like the very early who's going to win the Masters, I probably said Justin Thomas at some point. I think I'm still there. I love what he's done with the putter. Picked up 4.5 strokes putting at the Players Championship. Picked up 6.8 at the Valspar. Finished runner up there. That's the last time we saw him. I don't know how realistic it is that that continues. He's missed his last two cuts at Augusta National, and both of them were, because he was losing strokes with the putter. The three starts before that, he lost strokes off the tee, but he went on this really good run where he was basically getting better every single time he saw Augusta National. He went 22nd, 17th, 12th, 4th. Where are we going next? 21st and 8th. Those are pretty good. And then the two missed cuts. I think that he's probably flying under the radar. If Justin Thomas picks up 4, 5, or 6 strokes putting this week, he's going to be in it. Like that's the absolute fact of the matter. His major championship run recently is abysmal, but a lot of it is losing strokes on approach. A lot of it is losing strokes with the putter. I believe we have fixed that. At least that's what the metrics say. So pretty bullish on JT. Joaquin Niemann is probably the other really good option in terms of live golfers. Not only has he been winning on live already twice this year, he won in Adelaide, he won in Singapore, but he won the Saudi International. That was an Asian event at the end of December. He had back-to-back top 10 finishes before that. He played well last year on live, earned himself a spot into a couple of major championships. His metrics are very similar to that of when he was playing on the PGA Tour as well. He has now played this event 5 times, once as an amateur in 2018, and in each of the last 4 years, and has never missed a cut as a professional. His best 2 finishes were his 2 most recent finishes. I think that he, Jon Rahm, and Terrell Hatton are quite live to win this golf tournament. Jordan Spieth, I don't know, man. I don't know what version you're going to get, but I'll just show you what he's up to. 5 strokes gained putting, very good sign. Loses strokes on approach again. That's the problem here. You can't fake it here. You can't lose 9 strokes over 4 starts and then gain 1. I mean, like one he get at the Valspar, he picks up 7.6 on approach. He loses 4 out of the other 5 weeks. He has lost strokes on approach in, 5 of 7, but the 2 that he's gained have been huge numbers. So this is really, to me, one of the largest ranges of outcomes. When I run the tournament predictor, when I simulate this event 1,000 times, probably on Monday afternoon, I imagine Jordan Spieth is going to have one of the largest ranges of outcomes of any golfer here. The 8K range is pretty stout here. And I'm a sucker in some situations, most situations. We'll start there. Patrick Cantlay. Pretty heavily invested in Patrick Cantlay last week. Was one of the best approach players in the field. He picked up 5.5 strokes there. He drove it fine. Missed like just an unbelievable number, countless number of putts inside of 5 feet. Just horrendous. He lost 2.5 strokes putting. You can see it. He lost strokes putting in each of the final 3 rounds. That's pretty bizarre for him. He's a very, very good putter. Historically, a very good putter. I love what he's doing from tee to green. He has never been able to figure out these greens here. I just don't know why. I don't know why. But I'm going to give Patrick Cantlay one more crack here. I was a lot more bullish on Terrell Hatton entering 2025 than I am now. So he's played 5 live golf events. Actually, he started off 2025 with a bang, right? He wins in Dubai, wins the Desert Classic. Unbelievable metrics, and that just, you're thinking that is just going to kickstart an unbelievable year. Plays well in Riyadh, T6, but the metrics were a little fool's goldy, and then really struggles off the tee in Adelaide, really struggles off the tee in Hong Kong, the worst in a long time off the tee in Singapore, struggles again in Miami. The driver for him, he's not very long. He has to be in play off the tee. And you can see that's what he does. That's how he finds success. That's how he won at the Alfred Dunhill Links. It's how he put up all these top 10 finishes on the European Tour. He has to drive it well, and he's not driving it well, which gives me a lot of pause. T9 here, that was his best finish. His best finish last year. Last year, his T9 was the best finish he's ever had at the Masters. I'm still okay with this. I think that you can get to hat in and be somewhat comfortable, but you have to acknowledge the fact that if he drives it like he's driven it in 2025, it's going to be a pretty big problem. Russell Henley gets the major championships, especially, he's from Atlanta or whatever, plays out of Augusta. He plays from Georgia. He doesn't play out of Augusta, but very familiar with those courses down there, that style of golf. Has missed the cut once. It was 12 years ago. Hasn't missed the cut at the Masters since. Finished fourth 2 years ago. Is probably in the midst of some of the best golf of his career. Do you remember that he won at Bay Hill? He did. Won at Bay Hill. Finished sixth at the Cognizant. He's had a really good start to 2025. He's got a bunch of top 10s already. Just hasn't been around. Hasn't played since the Players, where he picked up 6.5 strokes from tee to green and finished 30th. Russell Henley is the guy who will probably just end up in the optimal lineup, right? He'll probably finish T4, and at $8,400, he's going to be in the optimal lineup. The guy that will be somewhat popular, and for good reason, is Shane Lowry here. So Lowry is putting together a really good start. Hasn't missed a cut at the Masters since 2019. Other than that, you can see him basically getting better every year. Since then, the last 3 years, he's put together huge tee to green numbers. He has put together just he has not lost strokes from tee to green. I have to load more. He has not lost strokes from tee to green since the 2024 Memorial. That was in June of 2024. We are approaching a year. We're 10 months since the last time Shane Lowry has lost strokes from tee to green. Well, I told you that is one of, if not the most important metric for this week. The putter, not always great, but when it's good, it's really good. He puts together high finishes even when he struggles with the putter because his short game's so good, because the ball striking is so good. He's going to be popular. He's $8,800. I think you could do a lot worse. Also, if you look at the trends here, Terrell Hatton trends really well at $8,600. He's gaining about, eight tenths of a stroke to himself. Shane Lowry, same thing. He's picking up 3/4 of a stroke to himself. And then Robert McIntyre is at the bottom. And I'll show you this part of the breakout candidates tool here. So what you want, so Fred Couples makes this chart look ugly because he's way down here in the bottom right-hand corner, but the upper left-hand corner is where you want to be. And that's where Robert McIntyre lives. And Robert McIntyre lives there because he is hitting it really well from tee to green, but he is actually putting below his baseline. And that means there's room for him to kind of squeeze some more juice out of this. Played the Players, finished 9th, went to Singapore the next week and finished 9th there. So that was a DP World Tour event, has played the Masters twice, but hasn't played it since 2022, a T12 and a T23. There are some lefty biases out there, right, about Augusta National and how you have to work the ball and why it's better for lefties. There are more lefties in this field than ever before. I think there's 9 of them. And Robert McIntyre is probably the best lefty and is very live to be in this thing for sure. Here's the 7K range, and I do think this is where we are starting to get a pretty noticeable drop off, and there are fewer golfers that make me happy pappy than most other places. So Corey Connors goes from having one of the most expensive price tags at the Texas Open last week to being very, very reasonably priced at $7,900, coming off what was a pretty good finish, right? I mean, he finished T18. No, he didn't win the golf tournament. No, he didn't finish T3 or anything, but he finished T18. It's a very good week where he picked up another 7 strokes from tee to green. So he has now picked up at least 7 strokes from tee to green. I'm rounding up 6.8 in 4 straight. And his worst finish in there is a T18. He's playing the best golf probably of his life right now. There is also something very sneaky about Corey Connors at Augusta National. He's had a lot of success here. T10, T8, T6. That was 3 years in a row. He missed the cut here in 2023. He made the cut last year and finished T38. Again, playing the best golf of his career, has a good record around this place. Okay, no problem there. Sepp Straka, I feel like I haven't seen or talked about or heard about Sepp Straka in a long time. Played the Valspar, finished T28. It was fine. He had 3 really good rounds. He had a bad Saturday, and it was whatever. He's been awesome. Like, let's just do this. I just want to go to the Holy Grail and just look at everybody in this field since the start of 2025. And I bet you Sepp Straka is somewhere near the top of this list, right? Just very quietly putting up a lot of really good finishes. Oh, I had somebody's name clicked. Hold on a second. Here we go. Sepp Straka is picking up 1.5 strokes per round, which of golfers who have played at least 30 rounds, well, there's only 2 of them. Him and JT have played 30 rounds or more, and only JT's been better. Of guys who played at least 20 rounds that are better, Rory McIlroy, Colin Morikawa, Scotty Scheffler, Justin Thomas, heard of any of those guys? So that's the class that Sepp Straka is in, and he is a really good avoider of bogeys, really well-rounded game. Definitely in the prime of his career, finished 16th here last year, has never missed a cut in his 3 trips. $7,600 is a very reasonable price. Patrick Reed is here. There are now a couple of past champions on Live Golf who are trending right now. Patrick Reed is one of them. T7 at Doral, where he gained strokes throughout the bag, specifically 5 with the putter. The start before that was an Asian Tour event, the International Series in Macau. Runner-up finish there. He's played a lot in 2025. Hasn't missed a cut. Has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 top 25s, and 5 of them are top 10s. The other thing about Patrick Reed is as follows. So if you go to everybody in this field, strokes gained putting at the Masters. So remember, we have the shot-by-shot data since 2019. Okay? Patrick Reed is, here we go, one of the best putters at Augusta National of anyone here. The only golfers who have at least 12 rounds, he has 24, he has twice as many rounds, and are better are Justin Rose, Cam Smith, Will Zalatoris, believe it or not, and then it's Patrick Reed. This does not even include his win. Remember, he won in 2018, so you would assume he putted pretty well that week. This is only the years since his win that we have the shot-by-shot data, and he's still one of the best putters, playing very solid golf right now. He is one of those guys that is a live golfer, past champion, who is rounding into form. The other one is Sergio. Sergio Garcia might be playing the best golf of his life. Look at this. Look at these metrics. If I covered up these metrics, you would be stunned. So 2025. Let's see. T6 in Riyadh, T18 in Adelaide. He wins in Hong Kong, 32nd in Singapore, 4th in Macau, 3rd at Doral. What are you noticing about this? I'm noticing that he has gained a ton of strokes with the putter. A lot in 2025. In fact, that goes back to 2024. He's really improved with the flat stick. That was his MO the entirety of his PGA Tour career, was this unbelievable ball striker, legendary, iconic, historic ball striker who literally had to close his eyes to putt. Not even joking, right? And if he could ever find a hot putter, he was going to win everything. Well, he has a good putter now, and he is winning everything because he still hasn't lost the tee to green play. He played Doral last week. Very difficult golf course. The week before the 2025 Masters, at however old he is, 45 years old, and he picked up 8.5 strokes from tee to green. It is special. His last basically since he won here in 2017, he has been miserable. He's missed 5 out of his 6 cuts. His best finish was at 23rd in 2022. If there is ever a year for that to change, it is right now, because he is playing the best golf that we have seen him play in a very long time. Those are my favorite. I think you could make some reasonable cases for some other guys. I think you could make a reasonable case for Jason Day. I think you could make a reasonable case for Daniel Berger or Maverick McNeely. You could even make a reasonable case for Keegan Bradley, who just lost 7 strokes putting at the Valero Texas Open. That's probably not going to happen again. He's gained strokes putting in each of his 3 measured trips here. He hasn't missed a cut here. since 2014. He hasn't played every year, but like his last two were top 25 finishes. I think you could make a case for Keegan. So like you can make a case for some of these guys, but no one that I feel super strongly about. The 6K range is pretty interesting here. Thomas Dietrich, Aaron Rye at the top of this range, I think are pretty interesting. Dietrich, just an unbelievable talent, starting to get back into shape since the post-win slump. We've talked about that a lot. Love the way he's hitting the golf ball. This is going to be his first Masters. It's going to be Aaron Rye's first Masters as well. I think Aaron Rye is probably better on positional golf courses, obviously like Sedgefield or something like that, where it's more tree lined. You can kind of hit it wherever you want at Augusta National, as long as you don't miss left in most scenarios. But I do think he is talented enough to make up for that strength being minimized a bit with the rest of his game. Speaking of past champions who play on live who are trending at the right time, Phil Mickelson, it has been a very, very low bar, is playing some incredible golf. 2025 has been a T23, a third, a 19th, and a 6th, in which he has picked up multiple strokes tee to green in all of them. He has picked up strokes on approach in 6 straight. He has picked up strokes with the putter in 3 straight. And there is something that happens to Phil when he drives down Magnolia Lane that no matter what the state of his game is, he can find his way into the top 25 here. The last time he missed the cut was 2016. He had that runner-up finish 2 years ago. He made the cut, finished T43 last year, and picked up strokes each of the first 3 days before his worst round on Sunday, which dropped him down the leaderboard a little bit. It is reasonable to think that Phil is going to have another decent week. Unbelievable. 54 years old. Like, the metrics are about as good entering the Masters as we have seen in some time. Towards the bottom of this range, I'm quite comfortable with this trio here at 6,500, which is Denny McCarthy, Harris English, JT Poston. I think we know exactly what we're going to get, right? Denny McCarthy is probably going to roll the rock beautifully. Picked up another 8 strokes putting at the Valero Texas Open last week. He has played here one time. He picked up 4.5 strokes putting. We talk about him a lot. He gets into these little runs where he plays well, and then he starts to struggle, and he's going to struggle for 5 or 6 starts, and he's going to come back and he's going to play well for 5 or 6. I think we're kind of right on the line. You know, he was pretty miserable ball striking at the Texas Open. If he starts heading down that direction, he's screwed. But if we can kind of find what he's been up to over the last 2 months, I think it's a pretty good spot. Harris English, again, also won this year, and nobody seems to care. Has picked up strokes off the tee, multiple strokes off the tee in each of his last 3. Talk about bounce back ability, talk about bogey avoidance, you talk about maturity and experience. Like, that is all the Harris English way. He's only played the Masters 5 times going back to 2014. It's hard to get into this field, but he's played in each of the last 2 years, made the cut in both of those. He has 2 top 25 finishes in his last 3 starts. And then JT Poston, who we've been monitoring very, 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 very closely. JT Poston probably should have won. I shouldn't say that. Could have won the Texas Open. Played himself out of it on Saturday. Played himself back into it on Sunday, and then kind of threw up on himself late. He played probably 60 amazing holes and 12 very, very miserable ones. Love to see that the putter's back. That is a really good sign. That makes me happy. Has made the cut and finished inside the top 35 in each of his last 2. The only cut he missed here was 2020. I'm comfortable with these 3. I feel like I know exactly what I'm going to get. If you're willing to take a little bit more of a flyer, Tom Hoagie now has back-to-back top 5 finishes not at the Masters here, and he's $6,400. That is incredibly cheap. Nico Echeverria is just as talented as they come, right? I love him. The putter has really been a force of good for him. This is going to be his Masters debut. I'm interested to see how he reacts to the moment and how he gets after it. That might be where I draw the line. You know, Joe Highsmith is in this field. I do love Joe Highsmith. He's going to make his debut. Then you kind of get down to the past champions, the older guys. I will say this, Angel Cabrera, who literally just got out of prison, right? Is when did he get out? Let's see here. Because he's been playing some senior tour events. When did he get out? I don't know, but he spent a couple years in prison. I think here. Maybe he's been out for a year because I think he went because we're missing. He doesn't have any results from the end of 2020 until 2024. Just won on the senior tour and finished fourth at the SAS senior tour event in October. Has missed 3 straight cuts here. Hasn't played since 2019, as you can imagine. I'm not playing Angel Cabrera, but he's playing pretty good golf. All right, let's see what the model says. Let's run a model here. So what we need to do is a couple of things. We need to probably introduce the weighted numbers because we've got guys from all over the place. So we need to put weighted tee to green, just a little baseline, 15 weighted tee to green. Then I'm going to add a little bit more on strokes gained off the tee last 25 for 10. Strokes gained approach last 36 for 10. Strokes gained around the green last 50 for 10. And then strokes gained putting last 24 for 10. I'm going to also go to bogey avoidance for 15 and birdie or better for 10. We've got 20 left. We'll put 10 on strokes gained Augusta. And we'll also put our final 10 on strokes gained par 5s, which is obviously the way you make your hay here. The big 3. Well, sorry, the big 2. Scotty Scheffler, number 1. Rory McIlroy, number 2. Justin Thomas sneaks in at 3. Robert McIntyre sneaks in at 4. Yeah, he's probably going to have a big week, isn't he? Colin Morikawa is 5. Fleetwood 6. Hideki is 7. Berger is 8. Lowry is 9. Sungjae is 10. My guy Xander is 11. Ludwig is 12. John Rahm is 15th. Who else are we missing here? Spieth is 30th. Just trying to see some. Koepka's 45th. Bryson's 51st. Yeah. Some of that recent stuff hurts him. Wow. Okay. This is going to be awesome. It's going to be absolutely awesome. I cannot wait. I'm bursting. All right. Everything you need is in the description. Go check out RickRunGood.com. Go get into the content. It's just, you know where it's all at, right? Love it. You guys are the best. Talk to you soon.